Hello everyone, I'm Sergeant Faria. Today we're going to be talking about firearms, particularly new firearm owners or people that have never really had the topic brought up to them. Now, the reason why I bring up this topic is the way that the government's going, especially with Canada when it comes to gun owners, is we're not very favorable. And the reason why I think you need your firearms license, at least your non-restricted, comes down to the same category as to the prohibited license, where they removed it so now you can't get it, but the people that have it can still have it, and you can pretty much no longer get it if you didn't get it prior to the date that they stopped allowing it. If you have your non-restricted firearms license, that means that if they were to take getting your license acquisition, you will still have it as a form of documentation. Whether you're a firearms person or not, you can help out someone else, who, whether it's a family member, a friend, a relative, doesn't matter. You can help other people if you have your firearms license. Now, the one thing I want to talk about is why do you need firearms? Well, it's self-sustainment. You buy a car to drive to work. You get a job to pay your bills. You get a house so you can live in a humble abode and just be comfortable and have a place to stay. And a firearm fits a very particular role that I don't think a lot of people think about. They don't think about the fact that may sustain themselves out in the wilderness, or maybe they'll have to make a bug out to somewhere where they don't know what's to come. Or maybe it's an instance like COVID where a lot of people got their firearms license because they didn't know the direction that the world was going or the country. And that's why I think you need a firearm. Worst case scenario, in the case that you have to use it for self-sustainment, you're going to be thankful that you have it. One thing I want to mention is 26% of Canada has a firearms license. Now, it depends on province. If you're in Saskatchewan or up north, where most people just known to have firearms, then it's more common. But I like to use that as a basic standpoint as to every 4 people you walk by, there's one person that has a firearm or firearms license. Especially, that's registered, obviously, to have your firearms license. Which means if you have a firearm, you have an advantage over 3/4 of the country, or 3/4 of the country. 3/4 of the country that may be walking around with their basic crowbar as a tool. And the fact that if they're the ones that have that melee weapon, there may be someone that they come into contact with that has years and years of boxing experience, and they may be able to disarm them. And in the case that happens, you're kind of screwed. So why do you need a firearm? Well, you don't need years of experience to really get good with them. You don't need to go to a self-defense course or you go to a boxing ring and figure out the movements of everyone. A firearm bridges that gap really well. So with that, I'm going to start with our first firearm. As a surprise to no one that knows firearms, we have a basic Ruger 10-22. I would recommend anyone that's getting a 22 get a semi-automatic one, particularly. And even better, get one that is magazine fed. Preferably more than 10 rounds, but if that's all you have, you can still be proficient with it and good with it. Now, huge advantage of this thing is the gun is cheap. The ammo is cheap. The accessories, relatively cheap, but way cheaper than other guns. You can train a lot with this thing. You can get really proficient with it. You can get really quick with it. And the other role that this fits is it is a really, really good beginner firearm for anyone. Someone that is recoil sensitive, sound sensitive, or it may be their first gun that they've ever shot. Or let's say you're a kid, a woman, or a man, you can shoot this. The first gun I ever shot was a Browning SA-22, and I was 13 years old, and I could shoot targets really well with that thing, even if I was low experienced. But the other thing that this is really good for is hunting. If you're in a suburb area and you have rabbits and squirrels, you can easily hunt with this thing. Now, one thing I didn't talk about is if the world was to go to crap or go to shit, most people are going to be hunting, and you may not find lots of deer, you may not find lots of elk, you may not even find lots of animals in general. But a lot of these smaller animals that are harder to see, they're really small, like rabbits, birds, and all the other small game, this fits a really good role because you can carry this in a backpack, you can carry it in a bug out bag. The ammo is cheap, you can get tons of it, it's really effective, and what you're able to do with the 22, you'd be surprised. I've shot very long range with 22, up to a distance that I don't even think people really thought of. I don't remember exactly what the distance was, but I'll put it in the video.
Yeah! Woo!
Maybe I'm not on target. Let's go there. I shot my target 22 out to a pretty far distance, and you can shoot that gun pretty far. As far as effectiveness, I'd say this thing is roughly in 100 meters or 150 meters. But the good thing about this gun is that if you're in a suburb area or an apartment, your longest shot is not really going to be much longer than even a couple meters. Or in a home defense scenario, it wouldn't be my first pick for knockdown power, but it's a very good option if you have nothing. And if let's say you did have to use it as a self-defense weapon, you can also use it this way if you needed to. But the reason why I bring it up is because if someone else has a firearm and they're shooting at you from, let's say, 100 meters, you can still shoot at them even if they have a firearm that has a lot greater power behind it. You could still be proficient with it, and you can get lucky shots too. Is it the best gun for it? No. But if you had nothing, you need a cheap option, something that's just effective, you can rely on. A good semi-automatic 22 is what I would recommend. The one thing I would recommend as a permanent upgrade that is something to think about is getting a really good scope, or getting really good with your iron sights, or a red dot. Because being able to get that shot acquisition, whether it's further distance, closer distance, is going to help you a lot. But anyway, that's option one. The next option is going to be two different shotguns. I'm going to talk about them individually. So here we have a Maverick 88 defense model. This is a very good gun. This is actually cheaper than the 22. I think this is the best home defense one you can get for a firearm. It is a good option. 12 gauge is everywhere. It's cheap. You can train with it. You got so much versatility in ammunition, from buckshot, birdshot, slugs. You can get 3-inch shells, where in this gun, particularly with 12 gauge, you have just a ton of buck flying down range. It's good for hunting. It's good for defense. Your range is somewhat limited, but in the role that it fills, it does a really good job for anything that's inside of 100 to 150 meters. This is a weapon on the field. The one thing I would recommend about the Maverick is if you can get a sight for it, it would be very beneficial. But if you don't, the classic bead on the end is really quick for target acquisition, and it's super quick. Like, I can get my eye on that bead. You just look at your target and then you point the bead right in it, just right there. Super quick. And now this is actually going to be my old coworker's gun. I'm selling it to him for a pretty decent dollar because right now they are pretty expensive, more expensive than they used to be. But the one thing I like about these things, if you get the shorter barrel one that is, I think, 18.5 and the two bends like there, you can get the different barrels, where you can get the bird barrel, the defense barrel, or you can get the slug barrel. And if you can get that, you have a shotgun that is for home defense, hunting, and, well, I guess hunting again, but one that can fire slugs way more accurately. As far as my recommendation, I would at least say get one that has swappable barrels. But having a shotgun, you're going to be happy and glad that you have one. Very easy to train with, very easy to get tactical with, and quite frankly, one of my favorite guns to shoot. I love shooting shotguns, and it's such an easy gun to use. It's reliable. Maverick 88s are known for their service life of just going round after round after round and just not failing, not breaking. Just a gun you throw in the bed of your truck. You have a truck gun or trunk gun. The other thing is that, even law enforcement use these things. These things are built off the Mossberg 590, which I also have, and the 500 combined, and those are both very reputable firearms that have great track records, and it's hard to say no to a gun like this. Now, I will say for this shotgun, on the other hand, your classic Stoeger double barrel is a little bit different because you only have 2 shots. Now, that's not to say that you're not going to be effective with this, but you're going to be more effective with this because it has more ammunition. But this is not a bad gun. These things, I think, are the ones that are going to outlast pretty much everyone because you have 2 barrels, and typically if you have 2 triggers, that means that if one of these triggers fails, the other one could still be used as a single shot. That is a very good feature for longevity. Would I use this in a home defense scenario? Wouldn't be my first pick, but 2 shots of 12 gauge, I mean, that may be all you need. You can get really proficient and quick at reloads. I've seen guys in cowboy action where they just open her up, take the 2 rounds from here, and you can get quite quick with it. Now, you'll see this on the Maverick here and on the Stoeger. Sometimes I get it on the side of the receiver of some of my other shotguns. That's to put the S-Tac shotgun loops, so it makes it a little bit quicker for reloads, and that makes this a much better firearm than just grabbing it out of a pocket or something, so it makes it really effective. The one thing I like is these are simple guns. You can give this to anyone, and it's very easy to see like if it's loaded or not loaded. You open up the barrels and see, oh, no, it's not loaded. You close them, you're ready to go. Again, very easy guns. They're very reliable guns. All you need to do is just press the trigger. If you miss, you press the other one. A very solid gun. Again, wouldn't be my first pick, but if this is all that you have, it's a very solid option. You know, it does what a shotgun does. Tons of stopping power, good for hunting, because I got, you know, you can get chokes in this one. I'd recommend getting a shotgun that has removable chokes, where you can have a better shotgun that, like, even if you have a short barrel like this, you can still put a choke on it to make it a little bit better for hunting. They're good for hunting, good for defense, and they're really fun. And you can get very good at reloading some of these things and get really good at shooting them, even with a basic bead. Only recommendation I would make is try to get these S-Tac shotgun loops, or figure out a way just to reload these dang things quick, because that's what shotguns struggle with, is their capacity. But anyway, those are the shotguns. Now we're going to be getting into a little bit of an interesting roll. Got this big long K11 Schmidt-Rubin, and this is going to fit a topic of bolt-action rifles and surplus rifles. So we're going to talk about this as a bolt-action. If a bolt-action is all that you have, well, this may be the only thing that you can use. And to those people, you can get really effective at them. But I would highly recommend, if you can, get anything else. Because your shot, your number of ammunition is limited. This can carry 6 rounds, which is rare, because a lot of bolt-action rifles, especially hunting guns, can only take maybe like 3 to 5 rounds. If it's a 300 Win Mag, you're only maybe getting 3 rounds out of it. That's not to say that they're not good hunting guns. They are very good hunting guns. The thing is that your rounds per second or rounds per minute is going to be a lot slower. You're going to have to be really good with this thing, and at that point, you would just rather have a 22 sometimes. That's not to say these are bad guns, but also your ammunition is going to be very expensive. Now, this shoots 7.5 by 55, which is not super available. It's not in gun stores like 12 gauge and 22, but you can get ammo cheap online, and it runs about $2 a round. You can put 308 loadings in it if you know how to reload, and you can shoot this gun pretty effectively. But I will say, as a hunting gun, a great hunting gun. Great for hunting deer and anything else. You are, you know, solid in the hunting department, we'll say. The only other issue is the fact that your fire rate. I would not recommend this as a home defense gun because it's so long. I mean, this is a big example, but even if I had my Mosin carbine, which is on the way, I would not recommend it. The overpenetration is going to go into other rooms if you live in an apartment complex or you live with other people in your house. Or if you have just supplies and you don't want a round going into your food or your water bin or something. So I wouldn't recommend it as a home defense gun. The thing is even with it as a defense gun, it doesn't fit the role well because your shots are like, it's a big, harsh bang recoil, and then you got to reload, and your reload is often going to be much slower because you can't buy lots of magazines. They typically don't sell them for a cheap $1. It's not a great option. But if it's all that you have, it's better than nothing. Now, we're going to go into the surplus rifles. Again, this is a straight pull, which is a lot quicker than your standard bolt action. They're accurate, which is all you got to worry about, but your ammo is also going to be very expensive. A lot of 308, 30-06, 300 Win Mag, 270 Winchester, like all those rounds are so expensive. I'd best recommend getting it on sale or buying it from someone else that just doesn't need the ammo. Good news is there's lots of ammo available for those hunting rifles, but it is very expensive. Now we're going to go into this as a surplus gun. Good news about the hunting guns, you can get an optic for it, so that's good. Now this as a surplus gun. Surplus guns have taken an interesting role in Canada because they used to be cheap. Now I bought this K11 from Herman's Guns out in Selkirk, and I did buy I have a Mosin Nagant that's on the way from Herman's Guns, and he prices those guns a lot closer to what they're actually worth as opposed to what they're going for. I bought this for $600, and that Mosin I'm also buying for $600. They're selling them about $800 to $1,000 depending on the models you get. And realistically, if you're going to buy a surplus gun, I recommend anything that's a semi-auto, which one of them is on this list. But the only thing that you may have a benefit is your ammo is very cheap, and that's good, but your gun is not. You may even just be better with a bolt-action Savage Axis that's chambered in 223 because it's going to give you better accuracy. You're going to be easily putting optics on it, and it's a much better gun that fits the role than a surplus gun. But if you already have the surplus gun, Ammo is cheap. You stockpile it. You get good with your iron sights. If it's possible to put an optic on it, go for it. Again, I would highly recommend trying to figure out if you can get an optic, but if the iron sights is all that you have, I mean, you can be pretty effective with it. If you have the ammo, if that's all you got, you can be proficient with it. Now, I will say, where'd the mics go? I will say that the Mosin Nagant is a little bit different because you can still buy ammo in stores. So that makes it good. At least the ammo is available and it's cheap. But it wouldn't be my first pick. But if you have it, solid option. Okay, this is a sudden break in the video. I forgot to mention lever actions. Lever actions, in terms of centerfire rifles, they're great. Ammo can be pretty expensive, but if you can get ones that are chambered in pistol calibers or 30-30, those are very good. The ammo isn't too bad. You know, you can get some pretty good deals on those. It fits a similar roll to a semi-auto, but it just has extra steps. You just kind of load it like you would a shotgun when you're top off loading, and you know, you can shoot them pretty quick. One big thing is going to be your ammo capacity, but I do think that the role a lever action fills is it kind of fails a semi-auto rifle a little bit, but it's unique in its own way, where it's a little bit faster than even the Schmidt-Rubin, and it's faster than a bolt action. So if you can be faster, that's going to give you great success. The rounds can also go pretty far distance, depending on the rounds you get. My biggest recommendation is go with a lever action that has cheap ammo and the ammo that is very relatively available. And then the last thing I'll say is just make sure you got an optic on it, if you can. If not, you can get pretty proficient with the iron sights, but I'd highly recommend a scope or a red dot in some way. But yeah, that's what I have to say for lever actions. And now, last gun, which is no surprise to anyone, the good old classic SKS. Again, surplus guns getting expensive, but if you have one of these things, the ammo is not bad. Again, I didn't buy this one from Herman's Guns out in Selkirk, and again, I'm not sponsored by him, but I've bought 3 guns from him, the Mosin being the 3rd one that's on the way. But he prices them a lot better, and you can get a lot better pricing from him, and he can even ship it out to you, which is great. But anyway, we're on the SKS. Again, these are going for like $800 now. They used to be $200 when I bought mine. If you have one, great. If you don't, there's not very many semi-automatic guns out there that I really trust. Some of the magazine-fed ones, I mean, if you can find one that takes AR mags or AK mags, go for it. But I would highly recommend just going with something that's solid like this, because this has a better track record than some of those other ones. But this thing is getting into the price range of some of those other ones, and it's in a weird role. If you can get it for under 1,000 or under 800, highly recommend it. Get it right away. These are solid guns. You can shoot them good with iron sights. The ammo is cheap. You can get pretty good at loading stripper clips quick. I know I'm pretty proficient with it. I'll have a video about that eventually. But the other thing, they're also simple guns. They will last a long time. The ammo is cheap, and you can train with it. Now, the only issue with this thing, which I've said for all the other ones, is try to get an optic. You don't really have very many options for optics mounting. You can get one up here where you can only use a red dot, and that may be all you need. A great little upgrade. I would recommend it if you're going for red dots. The other option is you get the long rail where you can't use stripper clips and you're just loading it by hand, which I would recommend not doing, because the last thing you want to be doing in a gunfight is reloading with loose rounds and dropping them all over the place. But you do have a solid optic rail, so if you were to get that, you can have any optic you want. Now, the other option is you get those big old magazines. I don't trust them. I don't like them very much. They're very bulky and hard to carry around. You'd just be better off carrying stripper clips. But if that's what you're going for, go for it. I'm not going to tell you what to do. The other option, which I'm going to be doing in the future, is mounting a Russian optic with the optics rails on the side, a lot like how they're AKs, where you flick a lever, you take your scope off, and you can put either a red dot, a 4x scope, or just use the iron sights, and that is a very good option that I'm going to go with. I would recommend going to Eastwave Net. They have a lot of Russian optics on there. The one that's going on this one is a POSP scope that is a 6x, and it comes with a rail. The only thing is you'll need a gunsmith to install it. If there is an option to have that on the gun, I would highly recommend going for it, because that means you can mount a scope, quickly take it off, you put your red dot on, you got close range. Okay, that guy is about 150 meters. Now you have your close or your long distance optic. That's the best option I would say for this, because then you can at least take it off and use the stripper clips. You're just left with iron sights. Or if you want, get the red dot, and then you can still at least use your iron sights. But anyway, ammo is cheap. It's a semi-automatic. You're going to be in a huge advantage over the other people that are walking around with nothing. The one thing I want to mention is in the category of people that have better guns in the SKS, like their ARs and their Type 97s and stuff like that, they might stand a little bit more of a chance against you, but realistically, this is all that you can get. And it sucks because the fact that this gun has lasted all of those gun bans is nuts. But for those guys that do have all those tactical rifles, you are going to be better suited with this, because even if you only have 10 rounds, or I guess 5 rounds in Canada, and they have whatever amount they have, you at least have the advantage of having a tactical rifle or a rifle that can stand up against them. This is, I think, the best happy medium between the tactical guys and the guys that are running around with, you know, just crowbars. So this is the coolest thing that you can get out of all of them. And one thing I want to talk about is buying auction guns. Be very careful with auction guns. I've taken the risk with them, and some of them have been a huge pain to deal with, and I ended up just giving it back to them. Buying used guns, I would highly recommend at least trying to find them on Gun Post or anyone you may know, just to see, because they may knock a couple dollars off you, or if you can do some trading, I'd recommend doing that. And I hope that helped with your decision making. And I'm not going to say that any of these guns are bad. There's a reason why I own all the firearms I do. I put a lot of trust in them. But anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope this helps you with your firearms journey. Have a good one.